Entrepreneurial Edge is brought to you by Business Banking from FNB, because small ideas can lead to big business. FNB, how can we help you?
Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Edge. I'm Chris Bishop. Now picture this, it's late on a Friday night. You're running your own business and you've had a bad week. You don't have enough money to pay your employees, your customers haven't paid you yet, and on top of that, you owe money. Now this is the time when you could really use a shoulder to cry on, or a business coach to help you out. Now on this show, we'll speak to people who coach entrepreneurs. How does it work? What can they do for you? Let's go first to an office in Rosebank, Johannesburg, to take a closer look at how it works.
Action Coach was started in '93 by an Australian chap by the name of Brad Sugars. Really interesting concept that he started back then, because it was really designed around the technicians in business. So it was designed around guys who had either come out of a corporate environment, who had a technical skill, or guys who had acquired a skill in some environment that they worked in prior, and then wanted to go out and start a business on their own. And these individuals were great at doing the job, and I mean job, they're talking about the technical nature of their business, but they really had no clue on how to market, how to do the selling, how to manage a team, because they'd never done any of this before, because they were always hands-on. Okay, so Action Coach started really helping these individuals grow their businesses from a one-man band up to where we are today with a toolkit where we can help pretty much any organization from one man all the way up to 100, 150, 200 strong.
So what coaching did for me was provided me an opportunity to be disciplined to someone other than myself and to be accountable to them, but also helped me look at the business from a bigger picture. You know, strategically look at it and say, okay, well, if we want to be around in the next 5 years, or if we want to be relevant, we need to start changing the way we do things. So it's about creating that ongoing cycle of evaluating and reassessing your business, your objectives, your strategies, what are your plans, and executing them effectively. The coaching's added a lot of value in the business, both stuff that you can see in terms of finances. I mean, we've grown 100% in the last 3 years, but I think we also think a lot bigger than what we've ever thought. We're quite sort of constrained in our approach to business, but what coaching has done is help us realize the potential that Eurocom can possibly achieve. Through diligent planning and obviously a lot of discipline and structure, which is something I'm not good at, but that's where the coaches come in and help you keep your promises.
Over the last few years, I think we've doubled his turnover. When we started, he had turnover about 7.9 million rand. Now he's sitting on 14.2. So he's had a nice change in terms of turnover, nearly 100%, which is great for him. In terms of profitability, which is probably more important, he's moved his profitability from probably around about 300 up to over 2 million. So he's quite happy with where we are in the business at the moment. Personally though, for me, which is really where I like to see the change, it's nice to have the change in terms of the numbers. It's really good to see that you're actually making a change as a coach. We can look at the numbers and see the results, but it's also good to look at the business owner and see how they've grown, in the sense that he's taken on a bigger leadership role in the business. The way that he manages his team, he's a lot more engaging. He has more structure. His reputation in the market has grown significantly because we've got some PR campaigns working on him specifically. So as a person, for me, it's really nice to see that growth in Marco. It's wonderful.
Now in the studio with me, I have Harry Welby-Cooke and Peter Scholz, the master licensees of Action Coach SA. Now just before we start, I want to talk about your background, but just tell us a little bit about the business, where it started and how it came to this country.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. Action Coach has now been up and running for 19 years, going on 20 years, currently operating in 39 countries around the world, with about 1,000 coaches in those particular territories. Harry and I were fortunate enough back in 2007 to bring and to acquire the master license to bring Action Coach into South Africa. So we started in about June 2007, currently got about 23 coaches working with us in the South African market at the moment. So in brief, that's sort of a...
Now, Harry, in layman's terms, what exactly do you do?
Well, the easiest way to explain it, Chris, is really where people will generally understand what coaching is, and it's a coach in your business like you would have a coach on the sports field. It's an outside perspective ensuring results and performance within your business.
Now, both of you have got different backgrounds, but Peter, what is your background in entrepreneurialism, would you say?
Yeah, I suppose I come from a non-entrepreneurialism background, and typically that's probably where the majority of our coaches come from. I spent just over 22 years in the corporate world, across a variety of industries. But the last 16, 17 years within a multinational FMCG business. I was very blessed that I was able to be on the board of the local operation. But I got to a stage in about 2006 that I decided it's time to go and do my own thing, etc. So I left corporate world in mid to late 2006, and then spent some time, one on the consulting side of things, but also looking at, what I was going to do for the second half of my career, and then came across the Action Coach business in early 2007. So, I think that's a bit of my background.
So Harry, I mean, would you say that you're an entrepreneur at heart? I mean, I know you worked in the banking world, corporate again.
Yeah.
Would you say you're an entrepreneur at heart?
I'd like to think so, Chris. I think even in being in banking for all those years, one of the reasons why I got out in the first place was I'd always had an entrepreneurial edge, always wanted to do things a little differently and be a little bit of a captain of my own ship. But one of the frustrations was working in the banking sector was seeing that a lot of good businesses don't work out according to the business plan. And it's not often because of the concept, it's not often because of the individuals involved, it's just they didn't have the overall skills. And that was one of the reasons why I left in the first place, and why there's such a good fit with Action Coach and what we get to do on a daily basis.
And Peter, what do you find, the people you work with? Do you think entrepreneurs are born, or do you think they're made?
I think a large amount of them are born. I think to me the key aspects of that is passion and the real will to succeed and self-determination to achieve something far bigger for yourself. But having said that, a number of you can have somebody that's born into entrepreneurialism. It doesn't necessarily make them a good entrepreneur. And I think that's where the business coaching industry then comes into play. So how do we take them to another level?
I mean, Harry, were your parents entrepreneurs? Was it something that was instilled in you when you were?
No, they weren't. They both come from a kind of a working environment, and it wasn't something that I grew up in. I think where I was privileged to have an early start was I had a lot of friends who were kind of, their parents had almost been immigrants to the country, and they were all involved in business. And that's probably the first taste I had, seeing that what is possible if you have the passion and drive that Peter were talking about, and have the need to achieve.
Peter, I mean, I talked in the intro about this scenario where I was a small businessman myself once for a short while, is that it is very lonely and it is a difficult place to be when you owe money and you're not sure where the next dollar's coming from. But how do you deal with it? How would you bring a business coach into that situation?
Well, I think the first thing the business coach would do when they go and work with a business owner is to do a full analysis of what's going on in the business at the time. Because often, if it is a financial issue, that is the fact that there's a financial issue in the business is often brought about by other problems in the business. So on the one side you can go and try and fix up cash flow, but you've got to go back and understand what are the systems, what are the marketing initiatives, what are the sales initiatives that you might need to bring into place to actually create sustainability for the business. So you could fix up something overnight, but has that fixed up the longer term trend for the business owner? So I think the first thing the business coach would do is to go into that business, have a look at the business in all its spheres, from the financials through to sales and marketing initiatives and strategies, through to the systems that we put into place in the business, and then obviously at the top end of that is to look at the business owner and how he's leading the team of people that he's employed in the business.
Now, Harry, the people who franchise from you and our business coaches, how difficult can it be for them to get into people's businesses? Surely some people will turn around and say, look, I've got my father, I've got my brother, my mother, they help me out. What do I need you for?
Yeah, that is kind of the perception, and I think as South Africans, that was one of the concerns we had when we looked at the business initially is, well, we tend to be a little bit ego-driven. We're not that good at asking for help. And we've almost found exactly the opposite of that. And at this stage, South Africa has the highest conversion rate of actually going into a business, doing an analysis, versus signing them up as a client. And that shows a couple of things. It shows, one, there's the need, but more important, there's a commitment of South African business owners to make it work. And the best way to overcome some of those, well, I've got my mother, I've got my accountant, is to get in there and not talk theory, not talk, what might be possible. He says, let's get in, let's get understanding what's going on here, let's get across the table, and then we can work together, because it's a relationship that is built that's very important to ensure the result going forward.
And these are difficult times for small business people to be involved in. Do you find there's a tremendous stubbornness sometimes that people have? I mean, I've heard stories about people, you said, oh, you've got a problem with your business. Yeah, but it's my business and I'll do it as I please. Do you find that?
Generally, no. We often find people are open to the concept. You know, and I think the trick with the business coach is to actually go and understand what are those levers in the business that the business is struggling in at the moment. And quite often, I think, just to add to the point that Harry was referring to early on, is that sometimes the business owners just don't know what they don't know. And so, you know, one of the things as coaches, what we do is to go and really interrogate, if I can use that language, what is going on in the business. Because the business owner might not be looking at the real reasons behind it. So, you know, I think that on the one hand, you know, it's important for us to go and find out exactly what's going on in the business. And once we do that, it's almost as if lights switch on for the business owner, because they turn around and say, well, I wasn't aware that was going on in my business. And that just demonstrates the need for the business owner to have the coach. Having said that, there are obviously business owners that say, look, been there, done that, you know, what are you going to tell me, etc. And for those business owners, you know, obviously there's a time when you say to them, well, maybe not right now, but let's move on potentially in a year's time with it.
Harry, what about the question of costs? I mean, one thing small businessmen at this particular time, they'll say, well, they're cutting back on everything in sight. Yeah. Surely, how difficult is it to say to people, well, actually, we can help you, but it's going to cost you more?
Yeah, and that's an important thing to deal with right up front, because coaching is a service and there's a fee for that service. So one of the elements of that being the benefit is that there's no vested interest, there's no side interest. It's a fee for the service and you get all the results. But to package it is to see it as an investment. And again, a good example where people understand the concept is look at the sporting field. Despite the recession we had, nobody started the season saying, well, maybe we cut on the cost of coaching, we won't have a coach this year, we'll save some money. A coaching intervention across the spectrum, whether it be sport or business, must deliver results. And therefore it must return an element on that investment. And that's the way we package it. And the advantage we have is that we will guarantee those results. Yeah. So we will work with a business owner, there will be an initial cost, and we will guarantee delivery on those results, or we will continue coaching them until we get those results.
Okay, gentlemen, hold that thought there. We'll talk a lot more about recession, Africa, wider issues, and also hopefully one or two more anecdotes in the second half. It's time for a short ad break now. We'll see you right after this.